The gratitude hack that changed everything. I used to think the whole be grateful thing was a bit of a joke. A nice idea, sure, but totally useless against real-world problems. I was drowning in anxiety, my mind a 24/7 worry factory, and being told to keep a gratitude journal felt like putting a cartoon Band-Aid on a gaping wound. It was a platitude, a shallow sentiment in the face of this deep, nagging unease. My life's soundtrack was a constant loop of, why is this happening to me? And, is this all there is? And I felt completely powerless to change the music. But then, a friend suggested one tiny, almost weirdly specific thing, and what happened next completely blindsided me. It didn't just make me feel a little better. It kicked off a chain reaction, a cascade of generosity that rippled through my life and permanently, fundamentally, quieted my worried mind. This isn't a story about just deciding to be happy. It's the story of how I accidentally rewired my brain. The problem and the agitation. My default setting was what you might call high-functioning anxiety. On the outside, everything looked fine. On the inside, my brain had one job: find the next thing to worry about. And it was Employee of the Month, every single month. This wasn't just a bad mood. It was a deeply ingrained habit. My brain was like a smoke detector with the sensitivity cranked too high, blaring the alarm for a piece of burnt toast. This constant mental churn was exhausting. It sucked the joy out of good moments and cranked up the fear in bad ones. My sleep was awful, which of course just poured gasoline on the anxiety fire the next day, and the usual advice was infuriating. Just think positive. Count your blessings. Oh, I tried. I really did. I'd sit there with a fancy notebook, ready to change my life and write, I'm grateful for my apartment. I'm grateful for my job. But the words felt hollow. It was like knowing the chemical formula for water, but still dying of thirst. My brain understood the concept of gratitude, but my heart and nervous system couldn't take a sip. It didn't touch the frantic, buzzing energy or stop the physical stress that was becoming my new normal. In fact, it almost made things worse. The massive gap between what I was supposed to feel, grateful, and what I actually felt, panicked and overwhelmed, just added a thick layer of guilt and failure to the mix. I was trapped in a cycle of seeing only the obstacles, the headwinds, and was completely blind to the support, the tailwinds, that were also there. My brain, it turns out, was wired for threat detection, and it was doing its job way too well. I finally hit a point of desperation, a rock bottom where I was so tired of being tired that I was willing to try absolutely anything. The catalyst and the hack. The hack didn't come from a guru or a self-help bestseller. It came from a chat with a friend who'd seen me struggling. He didn't tell me to write in a journal for myself. He gave me a single, bizarrely specific instruction. He said, for the next 30 days, every single time you feel that wave of anxiety, that tightening in your chest, stop what you're doing. Pull out your phone. Think of one person, a friend, a former teacher, a cousin, anyone who did something kind for you, big or small, and send them a one-sentence text thanking them for that specific thing. Don't ask for anything. Don't expect a reply. Just send the thanks and move on. That was it. No navel-gazing. No private list. It was an active, external expression of gratitude, wired directly to the moment of my anxiety. My first thought? Utter skepticism. How could sending a text possibly derail a runaway train of worry? It felt awkward, presumptuous even. What if they think I'm a weirdo? What if they don't even remember me? But my desperation was real, and nothing else had worked. So, with a heaping dose of doubt, I agreed. The next day, right on schedule, the anxiety wave hit while I was staring down a mountain of work. My heart started to pound, but instead of letting the spiral begin, I stopped. I thought back, and a memory popped up of a college professor who wrote me a letter of recommendation that completely changed my career path. My thumbs hovered over the screen, feeling clumsy and foolish. I typed, "Hi, Professor Davies. Random thought, but I was just thinking about that letter of recommendation you wrote for me years ago. It made a huge difference in my life, and I'm still so grateful. Thank you." I hit send before I could overthink it. My heart was still pounding, but something else was there too. A flicker of something new. The transformation. What I never saw coming was the profound and immediate shift that single action created. Within seconds, the focus of my brain flipped. For just a moment, the engine of worry had been shut down and replaced by an engine of recall, one that was scanning my past not for threats, but for moments of kindness. Think of your brain as having a set of railway tracks. My anxiety track was well worn, leading straight to Worryville. This simple action started to lay down a new track. Each text was like a railroad tie, building a new path away from the old one. This practice was physically training my brain to be more sensitive to the experience of gratitude. Over that first week, I sent dozens of these texts. I thanked a friend for helping me move a heavy couch. I thanked my sister for a perfectly timed phone call. I thanked a former colleague for their patient guidance on a project. And two shocking things started to happen. First, the replies. They weren't just, "You're welcome." They were filled with warmth, surprise, and connection. My old professor wrote back and told me my message had made his entire day. A friend I hadn't spoken to in months called me, and we ended up talking for an hour, reigniting a friendship I hadn't realized I'd let fade. These tiny acts of gratitude weren't just making me feel better. They were actively repairing and strengthening my social bonds. The second, and most shocking effect, was what I can only describe as a generosity cascade. It was like I was planting these tiny invisible seeds with every text, and suddenly, they were sprouting all around me. A week into my experiment, I sent a text to a former boss, thanking him for taking a chance on me. 2 days later, he emailed me out of the blue. He said my message reminded him of my work ethic and asked if I was interested in a freelance project, a project I never would have known about. Another time, I made a point to sincerely thank the barista who made my coffee every morning. Over a few days, our robotic transaction turned into a real conversation. I learned his name. He learned mine. One morning, he mentioned he was in a local hiking group and invited me along. That group introduced me to a whole new community, opening up my world in a way I hadn't thought possible. It turns out that being the source of gratitude often invites generosity right back to you. It's a symbiotic cycle. My mind, once a landscape of worst-case scenarios, was being repopulated with evidence of goodness. My brain was like a radio that had been stuck on a static-filled station of bad news for years. This practice was slowly turning the dial, tuning into a new frequency until the music of connection and positivity came through loud and clear. My sleep improved dramatically because I was going to bed thinking about connection instead of dread. The low-grade psychological ache I had lived with for years began to fade. It's been years since that first 30-day experiment, and this practice has become a core part of my life. It's not that I never feel anxious or face problems. It's that I've built a powerful counter muscle. What I learned is that it's incredibly difficult for your brain to be in a state of high anxiety and a state of deep gratitude at the exact same time. It's like trying to get two people through a single doorway at once. One has to yield. By deliberately choosing to activate the gratitude circuit, I learned how to interrupt the anxiety spiral before it could take over. This hack worked because it wasn't passive. It wasn't for me. It was active. It was external. And it was about connecting with others. As someone once brilliantly put it, gratitude is like broccoli. We all know it's good for us, but we only get the benefit if we actually eat it, not just think about eating it. I had stopped just thinking about the broccoli and finally started eating it. The most profound realization was this: I didn't need to eliminate negativity from my life. I just needed to get better at seeing the positivity that was already there. My mental spotlight had always been pointed at what was wrong. This hack trained me to swivel that spotlight around and illuminate all the good that was hiding in the shadows. So, here is my challenge to you. Don't just take my word for it. Test it yourself. For 1 week, that's it. Try the gratitude hack. The next time you feel worry, stress, or fear creeping in, stop. Pull out your phone and send one single sentence text of appreciation to someone for a specific act of kindness. Then, do something important. Come back here and share one surprising thing that happened in the comments. Did you get an unexpected reply? Did it open a door? Did it just quiet your mind for 5 minutes? Let's create our own cascade of generosity and prove together that the smallest acts of appreciation can have the most powerful and life-changing effects.